Hey guys, Lodicus here with a full completion walkthrough for Planet of Lana. This walkthrough is going to take roughly 3 hours for the full game completion. This is going to cover all 13 chapters, including the 10 collectibles or shrines that we need to grab, as well as showing you the puzzle solutions and potential death hazards to stop you getting that flawless achievement. Before we start, just head into the settings menu, go into accessibility, and there is QuickTime events. If you turn these off, the QuickTime events within the game will just turn into cutscenes, and it'll reduce your stress levels a little bit to avoid those flawless deaths. Let's fire up a new game save. As we're loading in here to the tutorial section, I'll just quickly go over the flawless run. So when you die in game, this is only going to count towards that particular chapter. So if you die on chapter 3, for example, if you go back to chapter select and start chapter 3 again and run through that chapter again cleanly without any deaths, that will then void your death on that chapter. You can also press start and reload previous checkpoint before you die. So if you've fallen off a ledge before the death kicks in, you can then press start, reload checkpoint, and this will avoid you getting a death penalty. Now that the initial cutscene has played out, what we're going to do is follow our sister here. So you move around with the left analog stick. A is to jump. You can also press down on the analog stick when you're on the edge of a ledge to do kind of a drop down or a hang. All we're going to do here is follow our sister along. Left trigger to crouch. So there's going to be instances throughout the game where we need to crouch or take cover. So you can hide in bushes or long grass by holding left trigger as well. We'll need that mechanic a little later on. If you can't quite make a jump but you can reach it, your character Lana will grab hold of the ledge and be able to pull yourself up. You can also swim, so don't worry too much about falling into water. It is another mechanic within the game. I'm not going to waffle over this video too much, so I'm only going to really speak up when we're at puzzles or potential death hazards, such as a hole in the floor appearing. If I'm not talking, just presume that this area is safe to continue along without any death hazards. We're now coming up to our first achievement called Sneaky Sisters. This is to sneak past the chef. So all you need to do is crouch along this section, and then your sister's briefly going to show you what to do. So when the chef's looking at us towards the camera over her shoulder, she's able to spot you. When she turns around and looks back to the chopping block, that's an indication of when to cross. So just crouch behind these boxes. When she looks at the camera, stay stationary, and then when she looks back to the chopping block, scurry across while crouched, and that should give you your first achievement called Sneaky Sisters. We're now just going to follow our sister to the left hand side of the screen. Again, just traversing and parkouring over these jumps, and then I'll speak up when we get to something interesting. In this next segment, we'll be introduced to a new mechanic, which is kind of dragging or pulling an object. As we drop down here, you'll see a pile of logs with wheels. Just hold X while alongside it, and this will be able to drag it in whatever direction you wish. I'm going to pull it to the left, A to clamber up, and then A to jump up to this ledge. Pull yourself up and continue on to meet your sister. Now that our sister has been abducted by the robots, instead of going to the left hand side of the screen, we're then going to move to the right, and we're going to head back to the little village that we originally came from, and we did the little tutorial section. And the village has changed slightly, and we have some hostile robots amongst it. So this is going to introduce us to some new mechanics and potential deaths. If you are following along with this video side by side with your game, I will speak up a couple of seconds before you actually reach them, just to be on the safe side. As we crouch through this rocky cavern here, as we come out the other side, we'll be introduced to our first robot, which is some sort of drone. He has a searchlight underneath him. This searchlight will spot you, and he will shoot you if you are spotted by it. Here we're going to use left trigger to crouch or sneak within the long grass. So once the robots move to the right hand side of the screen, sprint down to this long grass, press crouch, wait till the robot's gone past, and then we'll continue on. If throughout the playthrough you do get spotted by a robot, it'll turn red and trace you down. You'll have a couple of seconds before you're then killed. Before they kill you, you can press start and go to reload previous checkpoint. This will save you from a death and potentially replaying that chapter. The bridge is now missing, which has forced us into the water. We're then introduced to a spider-like robot. These guys don't have any indication of their line of sight or vision range. However, whatever way they're facing, they tend to be able to see the full length of the screen. So if you are directly in their line of sight, they probably have seen you. So it's best to sneak past those guys once they've turned away from you, and then you scurry past. We're now going to come out of the water. There will be another spider robot kicking around on the rooftops, but thankfully you're safe down here and won't be spotted. Again, I'll speak up when we get close to some danger. As we come out of the water here, we'll spot another drone. He'll be moving between a couple of buildings, so slow down here. Don't walk into his beam or line of sight. Wait till it goes up and over the rooftop, and then we'll cross. As we drop off this rooftop, we'll be introduced to a new mechanic, which is to pull off boards, which are usually covering up a crawl space that we can get through. So just walk up to the boards, hold X, and then move your left stick in the opposite direction to pull the boards off. Once the two boards have been removed, we're then going to crouch and sneak through once the drone's gone overhead and out of line of sight. At this next crawl space, we want to stop here. Don't go any further until this robot's facing the opposite direction. So wait for him to turn around, then we can head out and run underneath him. He's then going to turn around again, and then we have to quickly mantle up and then crawl through the next crawl space. I was a little slow climbing up here with A. Thankfully we got to the crawl space before he got to us, and we are safe. We now need to run. Don't stop at all here, because there is another drone that comes down from above. Just keep moving to the right hand side of the screen. Keep swimming across, because it does continue to pursue us until we get underneath here in a little bit of safety. And then once we get through here, we should get to the end of chapter 1 and get our achievement for The Journey Begins. So again, just pull these boards off, and then we're going to crouch under this crawl space. Another mechanic here, your atypical rope, which we need to either pull up or swing across. So just climb up to this ledge and then jump onto the rope. Up on the left stick to climb up, and you can also wiggle the rope left to right if you need to exaggerate your swing a little bit more. Climb up this rock section, and then we're going to crouch through here and out the other side. Clamber up, and then we out into the foresty area. And as we drop down here, it should move into chapter 2. As we transition into chapter 2 now, which is called Alone, we'll be introduced to our first secret shrine, which is one of the 10 collectibles that we need. There is a total of 13 chapters and only 10 shrines to get. There is a couple of levels that don't have any shrines on at all. Once we've got control of our character, we're just going to head to the right hand side of the screen and I will shout up when there is something to note. For the purposes of time here, there is going to be 3 rocks that we need to jump across. If you drop down, you will need to backtrack, so just make sure you make all the jumps, pull yourself up. And then shortly after that, we're going to be introduced to a new enemy type, which is a boar or a pig, which is just over this ridge here. When we look down, we should get a little bit of a cutscene and an introduction to the boar. What we're going to do here is drop down when the pig or the boar is facing away from us. We're going to jump into that long grass and then press left trigger to hide. So he's just turned around, jump down, press left trigger. He's going to then turn back towards us, trot forward and then turn around. As soon as he turns, we're then going to sprint to the right of the screen and then duck in this next set of grass. Let him come towards us again, turn around, and then we're going to sprint for the final time to the right hand side of the screen and we're out of line of sight of him. As we clamber up this next set of rocks, there will be a slope that slides down. We will need to jump at the very bottom of this slope. Don't jump too early and don't jump too late, otherwise you will fall down the hole. So slide down and then jump near the bottom and pull yourself up the ledge. There is a potential death there if you go down the hole. We're now going to be introduced to our first puzzle. So we've got a couple of boxes here. There's one on the top of this tower we're just going under, which we can't quite reach yet. And then to the right hand side is another box. The aim here is to get up to the top left and proceed on to the right hand side. Grab the box by holding X and then we're going to pull it to the left here. In between this tower and this platform, this yellow platform to our right. If we jump on this platform to our right, it's going to kind of pull this mechanism down. Once that's down, we're then going to clamber up to the top left and then hold X to pull this box off the tower. So just press X and then drag it off to the left. Don't worry if you fall down with the box, it will fall down in the kind of background and you won't get squashed. We're now going to pull this box closer to the other one. We're going to need both of these. Once that box is alongside this one, switch, and then we're going to pull this one to the right hand side. We're going to use this box to jump up to this higher ledge to our right, but not just yet. We're going to use this box as a counterweight and place it on top of this platform here. So when we do jump on the other one, it's not going to raise up, and we can then use this as a platform to jump up to the right hand side. So jump up and then jump over again, and we've finished our first little puzzle here. As we get to the rocky segment here, as we drop down, we're going to encounter another boar. What we're going to need to do here is get the boar to charge at us by luring him out by hanging off a ledge. Once he charges at us, we're then going to jump over the boar and get to safety, and he will hopefully fall to his death. So once the boar turns around, we're going to go to the very edge of this ledge and just press down on the left stick. This is going to make us hang. As the boar charges at us, we're going to then push up on the left stick and then quickly sprint away from him and then jump, and then the boar should hopefully fall down to his death, and then we're in relative safety now. We're then just going to clamber down, and we're going to show you where your first shrine is. So ignore these yellow plants for now, we're not going to use them just yet. So move to the left and then past the dead boar, and hidden away here in a little cave is our first shrine or collectible. Walk up to it and just press X, and that should give you the achievement for the first shrine. You get an achievement for each of the shrines, as well as an 11th achievement for finding them all. So now that that shrine's out the way, we're then going to head back out the cave to the right hand side, and then hold X on this boar to start dragging it. And then we're going to move it to those yellow plants that we briefly saw as we dropped down. As you guessed it, we're going to place the boar on the top of those. And what that's going to do is extend a little bridge on the opposite side. You are going to encounter this mechanic multiple times throughout the game. And a little later on we get a companion called Mui, which we can direct to sit on these and extend the bridges for us. Speak of the devil, we're just going to bump into him now. So as we go over this ridge, we'll get a little bit of a cutscene and we'll be introduced to our monkey stroke cat, Mui, which is going to help us throughout the rest of this game with various puzzles and jumps and things. So as we crouch through here, we should get a little bit of a cutscene and an introduction to him. Here he's going to be captured in one of these cages. Following this butterfly, he'll eventually get caught in one of these traps, and then what we're going to do is save him. And obviously our generosity of saving him is going to make him a companion that's going to follow us throughout the rest of this game. Once the cutscene's played out, just drop down. We're not going to activate this power source just yet to the left. What we're going to do is hold X to move the crate to the right hand side. And then we're going to go to the left again once that's all the way to the right. Clamber up, and then that yellow kind of handle that you can see is the kind of lever that we can pull. Just hold X and then move your left stick to the right, and that should activate the switch and release Mui. He's then going to scamper off to the right hand side of the screen. We're going to follow him. However, we can't quite make this jump, so we're going to have to clamber on top of this box and then jump from there. From the box, jump to the ledge and pull yourself up. As we come across here, there will be a hole in the floor here which you can potentially fall down, so you just want to take your time and make sure that you make this jump. Thankfully you grab the ledge and pull yourself up, otherwise it was another potential death. Just grab the rope, pull yourself up, and then we're going to follow Mui to the right. And then here we kind of have a little bit of a puzzle. So there's some scaffolding scattered around here, but there's no obvious way to go. We're going to fall through the scaffolding, and it looks like we're trapped down here, but we aren't. There's a A very weak structure here. If we climb up and then drop on it, we're going to fall through. And then just crouch through this cave system and come out the other side. Before we can get out, we're going to have to pull off some of these boards again. So just hold X and pull in the opposite direction to pull those off. And then we should be out. Next, we have a new little mechanic by using Mui. So he has the ability to drop down ropes and things for us. He does it automatically here, but a little bit later on you need to press Y to tell him to do that. And you'll also get the achievement for rescuing Mui. We then have a little segment here where we need to jump across a rock. Don't worry, it's perfectly safe. It's not going to move. It's nicely wedged between the two rocks here, and you can just scamper across. As we crouch under this rock, we'll get another little cutscene, and Mui's got himself in a spot of trouble again. He's managed to get himself captured by one of these robots. So he's going to back up and trigger this trap, and we're going to have to save him again. So what we're going to do is wait for this robot to turn around, facing away from us. So just wait till he patrols back to the box. Give it a couple of seconds, and then he'll patrol back underneath that ridge, and then we're going to drop down into the long grass below us, and then just hold left trigger to stay concealed. Wait for him to patrol back again, and then as he goes away from us, we're going to grab the box that Mui's in and push it towards him. So hold X, move it as far as it'll go, and then run back to the grass. Now he's going to patrol back to the box and then back into the cave. And this final time we're going to use the box that Mui's in to clamber up to the ledge above. So jump on top of the box and then quickly jump up this ledge, and then we're going to crouch underneath this rock and use this lever. This is going to release Mui, but first of all we don't want the robot too close to him. So as soon as the robot moves away, patrols away, release Mui, and he's going to run to us, and thankfully the robot can't get through. So this is Mui knocking down the rope again for us, and we're going to climb up and follow him through. And that section is out the way. As we step out here, we'll get a brief cutscene. A robot has followed us up, but don't worry, we're perfectly safe. We're not going to die here. We do fall off the ridge here, and this ends chapter 2, moving us into chapter 3. Unfortunately, the fall has knocked us unconscious, and we do have a dreamlike sequence here. So in this sequence here, we're just going to move to the left of the screen, chasing after our sister, similar to what we did at the very start of the game. As we clamber up here, we'll have another similar puzzle to what we did the first time round. So we've got these logs on wheels. As you've guessed it, we're just going to grab them, push them to the left, and follow our sister up. As we start to snap out of the dream, we'll wake up next to Mui in this beautiful grassland. When we gain control of our character again, we'll get the ability to get the achievement It Purrs. This is for petting Mui at the very start of the chapter. So once we have control of our character, just hold left trigger and then press X to pet Mui. You will be forced to pet Mui here, so you can't proceed on until you have petted him. So again, just left trigger and X to give him a bit of a pat, and we'll get the achievement it purrs. Just press P to snap out of the sequence here, so you can stand up and proceed onward. We do have a little bit of a walk on the right hand side and then a couple of treacherous jumps. I'll then speak up when we get to those jumps. As we get through these trees here, we will have 2 potential jumps that could lead to a death. So just make sure that you make the jumps and don't leave yourself too short. Like I nearly did there. Just make sure that you do have a bit of a run up before you do your jump. And then of course pull yourself up. You may have noticed a tooltip earlier on how to make Mui stop and follow you. So if you tap B once, he will just instantly sit down where he is and stay there until you call him. So what you need to do here is get him to sit on these reeds or vines here. That'll make this bridge extend. So once he's sat there, just press B once. Don't hold B like I'm doing. So just tap it once to make him sit, and that's going to extend the bridge. We're then going to jump across and stand on the vines or the plants up here to extend the other bridge, and then we're going to hold B to call Mui. Just make sure that you don't move until he's across, otherwise he will fall down the gap and it does count as a death towards you. We're then going to move across here, and we do have another sheer drop, which we're going to have to do the same thing again. So just line Mui up with these flowers, tap B once so he sits down, and then we're going to use this bridge to jump across. We're then going to stand on these flowers ourselves, call Mui. He's then going to clamber across and then get him to sit on these flowers. So just wiggle about until he's stood on them, press B. We're then going to drop down and then sprint and jump across here. And then from here we're going to drop down. I think you can either walk off or hang and drop like I've done. And we're then going to go underneath and rescue Mui, who's currently stuck up the top of there. So from this side we're going to clamber up and then climb up the rope. Once we've shimmied up the rope, we're then going to jump to the left and take these boards off, and this is going to allow Mui to come through and follow us. So just hold X and then pull in the opposite direction to pull both of these boards off, and then hold B to call Mui. And then we're just going to drop down the rope and proceed onwards. As we get to this rock face here, we'll be introduced to a new mechanic which I briefly hinted on. So this is getting Mui to do things for you. So if you hold right trigger and move your left stick around, you can point or aim to where you want Mui to go. And then you can press A. So point to the top of this little rock face here where the rope is. He's going to clamber up and stop there. Just tap Y, and this is going to get Mui to kick the rope down for us to climb up. We'll have to do this multiple times throughout the game, so you'll soon get used to it. Another potential drop here or death, just make sure that you do a sprint jump and don't fall down there. We're then going to be introduced to a new mechanic that Lana can do, and this is a wall jump. So when you're hanging off a ledge here, you can then do a wall jump by pushing away from yourself and pressing A. So this drop is far too big to jump, and we can't make the physical jump over there. So tap down on the left stick and then tap down again, and you'll drop down to this next piece of wood, and then hold your left stick to the right and press A to do a wall jump. Once we moved over to this side, there is a bit of an awkward drop here. If you do drop, which I was about to do, you will die because it's far too long of a drop. So we'll just walk forward or run off the edge and you'll land on that rock face and then crouch underneath here. As we come out into this cave area, we'll be introduced to a new enemy type. This guy is trying to eat or capture Mui. He has no interest in us, so this big large boulder that we can see in the background actually has legs and has a creature underneath which is trying to capture Mui. So what we're going to do is run to the right hand side and then press B to keep Mui there. So once he's sat safely under this rock, that rock's going to stay in place trying to get to Mui. We're then going to backtrack, crouch underneath here, and then we're going to climb up over the top, and we're actually going to use that rock, which is now nicely placed to the right hand side, to climb up the ledge. So run across here, do a sprint jump, and then climb up this rock, perfectly safe. Clamber up, and then once we get to the top, hold B to call for Mui, and he should be able to jump on the rock quick enough before it eats him, and then we can proceed onwards. Mui also has the ability to bite or cut rope. So every so often you'll see a piece of rope that has like a yellow stripe through it. This is rope that Mui can interact with. Just walk up to it or point him at it and press Y. Just be careful that once he does interact with it, he will sit and stay. We now want Mui to go underneath here and activate these plants. So hold right trigger, aim at them and press A. This is going to get him to go over there and sit. It's going to extend the bridge out and we can climb up. Once you're up the top, just hold B and Mui should be able to follow us up. He can jump pretty high. As we come over this ridge, we'll be introduced to yet another ability that Mui has, and this is the ability to tunnel. So these little kind of mole holes that are in the ground here, if you hold right trigger and point at them, press A and Mui will go and stand on top of it. As soon as you press Y, it will transition through that one and appear at the other side. This is going to activate the bridge in this case, but a little later on we'll be using this kind of technique against enemies to lure them back and forth. Stand on the plants on this side and call for Mui. Again, just make sure that you stay still until he is safely across, and then we can proceed on. If you don't, he will fall down to his death, and it does count as a death for you as well. As we come into this section here, it's another lengthy puzzle. There is also a shrine to collect as well, so we're going to go for the shrine first of all. This is shrine number 2. So climb up here and head to the left. We're going to go far left as possible, and then we should see a little cart. Just pull that to the left a little bit more, and then we're going to use this to climb up. And then on the very edge of this cliff face is shrine number 2. You don't need to tell Mui to stay there, I just did anyway. Interact with that by pressing X, you'll get another map piece, and you'll also get an achievement for shrine number 2. We're now going to backtrack, and where Mui's currently sat, we're going to ask him to cut the rope. So just press Y. He's going to bite through that, and then we can move this cart. As we move this cart over this plate, what this is going to do is power down the electricity, because these are solar panels after all. But we're going to take it a little bit further. We're not quite ready to knock the power off. Head up here and then jump across. We are going to get Mui to bite through this. It's currently electrified, but we need to get these boards off first. Pull those 2 boards off. Don't let Mui bite this just yet. You can tell him to stand next to it by holding right trigger and pressing A. Don't press Y just yet, because that will of course kill Mui and count as a death. We're now going to grab this cart, hold X, and we're going to drag it over the solar panels. That's going to cut the power, Tell Mui to bite through it by pressing Y, and we're kind of done here. Drop down to the right hand side. Remember to hold B to call Mui towards us. And then we're going to be able to clamber up this box now that the rope's cut, and then get us the hell out of here. Just as a quick reminder, there is a jump here that you can potentially fall down, so just make sure that you do a sprint jump here and make this gap. You don't want to fall down near the end of a chapter. As we then crouch through this next section of rock, we'll meet another spider robot on the opposite side. Make sure that you stay crouched, so you stay in this long grass. We don't want you standing up and getting killed. The robot's then going to play a little bit of a song, and then he's going to start patrolling left and right on this cliff top. As soon as he moves away, we can then safely proceed underneath him. Wait for him to turn around, and then we're going to quickly sprint to the right hand side, and then crouch under this rock before he catches us. We get to another segment here where we need to get Mui to knock the rope down. Hold right trigger, aim up at it, press A to make Mui jump up, and then of course press Y to make him knock the rope down. Once it's down, clamber up, and then we have roughly 30 seconds of running to the right hand side before we find something of interest. As we clamber over this rock, we'll move into another little puzzle segment. There is also secret shrine number 3 here as well. So we'll just toot along inside here. We'll have to hold X to pull these wooden logs with us. Pull them up to the edge so we can climb in. In here is another one of those rocks which likes to chase Mui, potentially eat him. So what we're going to do is get Mui to sit here first. We don't want him to come near the rock just yet. And then we're going to proceed onwards, crouch underneath here, and then we're going to clamber up and then come back over ourselves. So going up above the rock, and then we're going to head off to the left hand side of the screen here as we have a shrine. Pull these boards off, so there's 2 boards to pull off, and then you can see this yellow box above us. Don't drop the box down just yet, there is a shrine above it. So we're going to need the box up here for just a minute. Climb up the box, don't hold X to pull it off, and then if we clamber up and do a jump, Lana should grab a hidden ledge and be able to pull herself up. And then there is secret shrine number 3. Just press X on it, we'll get another map piece, and then once that achievement's popped, we're then free to move on and solve this puzzle. So we're then going to drop down safely, don't jump or anything, just do a hanging drop, and then we're going to hold X and push this box off the ledge. Once it's dropped down, we're then going to drag the box to this right hand side. As far as it'll go, we'll eventually hit the lip of the boardwalk above, which it can't get over. So what we're going to do here is call Mui, so hold down B. Mui is going to run past this rock, which in turn is going to lift this platform that we're currently stood on. And we're high enough now to lift the box over that lip. And then we're just going to climb up with Mui and get the hell out of here. Here we have another segment of those flower bridges that we need to manipulate. So all we're going to do is pass under this rock, hold right trigger, aim up and press A to get Mui to stand on them. And then we're going to go back underneath, and from this side we're going to jump onto them and clamber over. This next segment or puzzle that comes after this involves a robot, and there's high potential of death here. I did die twice on this segment. So what I suggest doing is pausing your game, watching the video for the next minute or so, just so you're familiar with what to do, and then do that yourself, and fingers crossed you won't die. Of course, if you do get spotted by the robot, quickly press start and restart checkpoint before he actually kills you, so you don't need to replay the full chapter. In this next segment, there is a spider robot, so make sure you stay crouched in the long grass. The robot's going to hum a little tune, and then he's going to patrol from left to right. As he moves away from us to the right, we're going to move to the grass beside him. Make sure that Mui comes with you, and then we're going to stand over this hole. Pressing Y will send Mui in, and he'll pop out the other side, visible to the robot. Before the robot gets to him, press Y. That'll distract the robot for a couple of seconds for us to move to the next pile of grass. Call Mui over to make sure he comes with you, and then wait for the robot to start patrolling again. He'll come to us to the right, won't spot us, and then he'll patrol back to the left. As he moves to the left, what we're then going to do is send Mui above us. So as you can see, there's a bit of rope that can be bitten or cut through. Right trigger, aim up, and then press A. That's going to send Mui up. Wait for the robot to patrol back to us, and then back to the left again. As soon as he moves to the left, we're then going to dart to the right. There's a crawl space to our right hand side that we can sneak under and for safety. We're going to lure the robot over and then quickly dart underneath before he gets to us. As that's happening, press Y on Mui, and he's going to drop the logs on top of the robot and crush it. Again, if you get spotted throughout that by the robot and you're not in a safe space, just press start before he gets to you and restart checkpoint, just so you don't have to play through the whole chapter again. Now that we've clambered out and called Mui to follow us, we're going to proceed to the right hand side. Relatively safe, there's nothing that's going to be able to kill us, and then we'll get a quick cutscene, and then we'll fall down and start chapter 4, which is called Secrets in the Dark. So once this cutscene is finished, we're going to have to hang on this ledge. So go to the edge, hang, drop, and then we're going to do a wall kick. But unfortunately this breaks and we fall into the cave. After a little segment that we slide down, we'll then stop and we'll be in a seriously dark cave. This was almost pitch black on my screen. I did struggle to see where I was going. However, there is kind of plants that you can sit Mui on, and it lights up the cave, allowing you to see where the pitfalls are and the ropes that we need to climb up. So as we clamber up here, we'll meet our first plant that lights the cave up. What you should do here is get Mui to stand on it, so tell him to sit by just tapping B. However, I didn't, and there was a massive hole here which I just had to kind of guess to jump over, and then there was something else here that I needed to climb over. I made it really hard on myself. If I had Mui just sit on the light, I should have been fine. Anyway, I've managed to climb up without dying, luckily. Then we have another plant here which we're going to get Mui to sit on. And then instead of going forward, we're actually going to backtrack and get our fourth secret shrine. So you'll now see that there's a rope hanging here. Jump onto that, and then we're going to climb up. And then as you can see here, there's a nice beautiful shrine to interact with X, and that's going to give us our fourth shrine achievement and give us another map piece. Just press B to back out, and then we're going to shimmy down the rope. Just be aware that there is a hole below the rope, so don't drop off the rope. What we're going to do is just slide down a little bit, and then we're going to swing to the right and jump off, just to ensure that we don't fall down that hole. Again, I like making things difficult for myself. What I should have done here is left Mui on the light source so I could see where I was going. I had to predict where that hole was to jump over. Thankfully I didn't fall down it. Now there is another plant which I am going to get Mui to sit on, and I can see this gap which I need to jump. Once across, there's a little segment here where we need to direct Mui to stand on this plant. So hold right trigger and press A. Mui's going to then jump across the gap, sit on the plant, and this is going to reveal another rope. Clamber up that rope and we can make our way over the top. Once over, we'll have a couple of dodgy stepping stones that we need to jump over. Obviously, any mistakes here will cause you to die, so just make sure you make these jumps. Make sure you're running and jumping. And then we're going to be introduced to a new enemy type, which of course is a spider. Everybody loves spiders. And this guy doesn't like the light. So we're going to use this as a barrier. So get Mui to jump into this hole, or at least sit on the hole for now. We're not going to send him through just yet. And then what you have to do with Lana is shimmy down this rope to aggro the spider. It's going to run at you. As it's running at you, press A, and this is going to activate the light source as Mui moves through to the other hole. And the spider's kind of trapped on that side, so we're now safe to drop down on the right hand side, move across, and we're now going to pull Mui out of there. So jump up, and then there is a couple of boards to pull off. Crouch through here, pull the 2 boards off, and then we can call Mui through. If you did call Mui before pulling these boards off, he will go the long way around and the spider will get him before he gets to you. Now that we've got the boards off, we can direct Mui up to pull this rope, or knock this rope down. And then as we jump on this rope, this little spider's going to run at us, but don't worry, we're safe up here, he can't climb. As long as you don't jump on him and jump over, we should be fine. Again, if you get into a predicament where the spider's going to run you down and kill you, quickly press start and reload previous checkpoint. Otherwise, you will need to run through this chapter again to get the flawless achievement. Another jump here, make sure you make that and don't fall down the hole. And then for some reason, Mui has magic powers here to open this door. So walk up to the door, aim above it and press A. This will send Mui up. And then I believe he will go through once you press Y and he will open the door. No idea how he's opened the door, but he has opened the door for us. So we're going to head on inside, and within this kind of temple section here, you're going to step on these light sources on the floor. In the background, this is going to show you details on how to solve our next big puzzle. However, it's not really necessary, as I'm going to show you what you need to put in, and the code's the same every time. So clamber up this rope and proceed onwards. This next ramp we slide down. The wall paintings or artwork behind us will show 2 hints towards the clues or the passcode that we need to activate the next puzzle. So once we stand on this light source, in the very top left you'll see like 2 T's side by side with a number of dots underneath them. And then same again in the bottom right, 3 dots with 2 T's with 2 lines above them. And those are 2 segments of the puzzle, or password to the puzzle that we need. But like I said, I'm just going to spell it out for you when we get there, so it's not really necessary for you to note these down or anything. We then go out into the big room, which is where we're going to solve the puzzle. In the very top left, you could have sent Mui up to activate a light source. That will give you the 3rd clue, and then the 4th and final clue is actually behind the log here on the right hand side, which we're actually going to jump down and move. But for the purpose of time, I'm just going to cut that out of the video and we're going to go straight on to solving the puzzle. So what you want to do is just shift this over to the right slightly. So we have 2 dots on shore and then 1 dot at the very end. So that one's solved. We're then going to climb up to the next one, which was just above here. Just press X to grab hold of it, and then we're going to slide it to the left, so it's showing 2 dots and then another 2 dots at the end. And then grab this one and we're going to slide it to the right, so it's showing 3 dots and then a 2 dot. Then we're going to climb up to the very last one, the 4th one on the top. Move it to the right slightly, so it's showing 1 dot, 1 dot and then 1 dot. and then that should be the solution to the puzzle. We're then going to move to the right hand side and jump onto this rope. This is then going to play the sequence that we've just spelled out, and that should eventually open the door to the right hand side and get us out of this tomb. Again, just make sure that you call Mui if you have told him to sit still somewhere, and make sure you both wander out together. As we move through, there will be a console to interact with here. In it is an amulet which we'll get an achievement for, and this will also give you a remote control ability for Mui. So you can use Mui to kind of mind control or control other creatures through this amulet. So he's going to absorb it here, and then we'll have a quick demo or tutorial on how to use that. So we're going to move to the right hand side once that achievement's popped, and there will be some vines or kind of reeds in the way, and we can use Mui's new ability to move them out the way. So walk up to them. Once Mui's close enough, press Y, and he's going to look at them, and then we can hold right trigger and move the left stick to the left, and this is going to move the vines, snap them, and allow us to get through. Eventually they will reseal and you'd have to try it again, so get through as quick as possible. We're now at a segment that's really dark. We're going to get Mui to stand on the light source, so send him through. We're then going to hang and drop down. If we do a hanging drop, we should grab hold of that rock and allow us to get through underneath. Once we've got to this point, just hold B to call Mui to you. And then we're going to move through to this room, which is another puzzle. And it has a couple of enemies, non-hostile enemies in here, which are kind of slug-like creatures. We can't quite interact with the one at the bottom just yet because there is a light source keeping his eyes closed. But if we jump up to this one at the top, if we get close enough with Mui, you can press Y. And then if you hold right trigger and move the left stick to the right, this is going to force the slug to move backwards. It blocks the sunlight, and then the eyes open up on the slug below. Call Mui to you. We're going to drop down and then do the same to this slug. So walk up to it close enough that you can use the mind control. If you are struggling, you can hold right trigger and press A to tell Mui to get a little bit closer. Hold Y to do the mind control trick, and then hold right trigger, and we're going to move it to the left this time. We're going to use this as a bit of a ramp to climb up. Once on its back, just jump up to this ledge, pull yourself up. Now we need its bum to come back through so we can climb up that. So hold right trigger and move the left stick to the right to make it reverse. Call Mui, and then we're going to climb up together and get out of here. We now have a little bit of a lengthy run to the right hand side of the screen, and then we'll eventually get a cutscene and move into chapter 5, the Highlands. Once we slide down this ramp, there will be another puzzle at the bottom which we need to solve. So once this cutscene's finished, we'll then slide down. Perfectly safe to slide down. And then we're going to drop down to this box. Get Mui to stand on this plant. It's going to extend the bridge above, and we're going to move this box to the right hand side as far as it'll go, and then we're going to turn on this lever to activate it. That's opened the box up. That's given us the extra height that we can jump from the top of this rock onto the box and then onto the bridge that Mui's extending. So clamber up, jump on top of the rock, and then of course onto the box and then onto the bridge. And then once we're over the bridge, we can then call for Mui. And then what he's going to do is jump on top of the box and then on top of the ridge, and he should follow us up. In this next area we have secret shrine number 5 that's tucked away. So once you get to this rope, make sure you jump on this ledge, jump on the rope, and then what we're going to do is move roughly halfway up the rope, and then we're going to slowly swing from left to right until we've got enough momentum, and then we're going to jump off to the right and grab this ledge, pull ourselves through, and shrine number 5 is hidden away in here. Walk up to it, press X, and we'll get our 5th map piece. Once that achievement's popped, we can then move back out and grab that rope and climb a little bit further up. Now that we're back in the main room, we can shimmy up the rope, but sadly Mui can't climb the rope, so we're going to need another method of getting him up. So once we're up to the top of the rope, swing a little bit to the left so we can jump onto this ledge. Go underneath first of all, jump on this lift. This is slowly going to move down. Once it gets near the bottom, what we're going to do is tell Mui to stand on it. So just aim at your feet and press A. Mui's then going to sit on it. And as soon as we step off, the wood's going to then pull Mui up to the top. So we need to backtrack, go up the rope again, and we should meet Mui at the top. So do a little bit of a swing, jump over, and at this point you can hold B to call Mui, and he should be able to follow us up. We're now going to need Mui to jump up there and grab the rope. So just guide him up there, press Y for him to drop the rope, and then we're going to climb up. Once you get to the top, we're going to head to the right, and after about 10 seconds of running, we're going to encounter another robot. So as we duck under this next section of rock, this is going to start our next encounter with one of the spider robots. Just stay in the grass for the time being until he passes, so don't move any further forward than this. He's then going to do his little chime, and then he's going to move up to the top level. Once up there, he's just going to patrol to the left and right, so we're safe to move out now. Head underneath him, and then what we're going to do is use Mui as a distraction here. So once he's facing away from this right hand side, so when he patrols back to the left, send Mui up to the hole, and then press Y to send Mui down before he gets spotted. Because we're not quite ready, we need to position Lana over to the left hand side here before we're ready for the distraction. So we're safe to stand under this ledge here. Press Y for Mui to change position. The robot's going to see him, then quickly press Y again. While this is going on, we're then going to climb up to the top here and press left trigger to crouch into the grass. The robot's then going to take his original path that he did at the very start to get back up to the top. Here he's going to patrol left and right again. While he's doing that, we're going to use Mui as a distraction again for us to climb up to the very top. And then as he takes his route round that he's done twice already, we're going to jump to the right and proceed on. Make sure that you call Mui and then duck underneath these rocks. Once we're out the other side, we'll have to do another mind control or remote control of these robotic looking vines. Just hold right trigger and then pull it to the left. That should snap them and allow us to proceed through. We're going to move to the right for about 5 to 10 seconds, slide down a ramp, and this is going to take us into chapter 6, which is called the Swamps. Now that we're in the swamps, we're going to proceed to the right. Once we get to a body of water, we'll soon find out that Mui doesn't like water whatsoever, and he won't stand in it or swim in it. So there is going to be a number of sections here in the swamps where we have to collect a log and use that as a little platform or a boat for Mui to get across the water. So this is the cutscene. Mui's going to test the water and not like it whatsoever. So once this is played out, we're going to have to dive into the water and swim across to the right hand side. On the right hand side, luckily there is a log that we can utilize, and we're going to drag that back to Mui. So jump into the water and we're going to swim all the way to the right hand side. As we go under this rock that's above us, you'll see a brown log up there, which you can just as say make out. I'm going to climb up to that. So jump to the right and then jump to the left. And then once we're alongside it, you can hold X and we're going to drag it off the edge into the water. We'll drop down with it. Don't worry, it won't crush you. And then hold X while in the water and we're going to drag it to the other side where Mui is. Once alongside him, just hold B. This is going to call for him to jump onto the log. And then he's going to quite happily sit there while we pull him across to the other side. Once we get to the other side, we can then send Mui up to drop the rope down for us. So again, hold right trigger, aim at the top of the rope, press A, and then when Mui's ready, just press Y to drop down the rope. As we come into this next room, there is a large body of water again with a number of bridges that can extend. This is a little puzzle sequence that we need to complete. However, we're not going to do that just yet, as there is a secret shrine in here, number 6. So we're going to proceed on a little bit further. We're going to clamber up, and what we're going to do is crouch and go through this little secret entrance here. Just keep holding right on the left stick and you'll eventually come out in this tiny little cave where you'll find the secret shrine number 6. Just press X on that. Once you've got the 6th map piece, you can then press B and return to the puzzle in the main room. So just clamber up and then hold crouch to crawl back out of this hole. Now that we're back in the main area, we're just going to jump into the water and stay underneath this plant here to extend the bridge. This is going to allow Mui to jump across. So if you just hold B, he'll come across. Sadly, he's not going to stand on the plants which we wanted to. So we're going to jump out, hold right trigger and tell him to stand on the plants. This is then going to extend the bridge for us to climb up. And then we're going to do a sprint jump to the right and get up out of here. Hold B to call Mui over and he can obviously make the jump no problem. And we're going to make our way up to the right. Here we have a new mechanic, which is to drain and raise water. So this tentacle that I've just run over will hide from Lana, but it doesn't seem to be affected by Mui. So tell Mui to go a little bit closer and then press Y to kind of mind control it. And then what we can do is hold right trigger and then press up on the left stick, and that's going to raise the water level. Pushing down will lower the water level. So what we're going to do here is raise it to the very top, swim across, leaving Mui connected for now. And then once we're across, hold right trigger and then press down on the left stick, and that's going to lower the water level. Take it down as low as it'll go, and that should be sufficient for Mui to come across. So just hold B and he's going to scamper across, and then obviously he can make the jump up, no problem. And we'll proceed onwards. Get Mui to jump up, so aim up with right trigger, press A and then press Y, and Mui should drop the rope down and we're going to shimmy up. As we jump off this rope, we'll have a hang here. So go to the edge and press down on the left stick and then down again. And then you can do a wall jump. Hang down again and we'll drop into the water. You probably could have been safe to drop, but I was being cautious here. Once in the water, we're going to then go to the left and we'll go through a secret entrance to find secret shrine number 7. So once in the cave, just press X and that'll give us our 7th map piece. We've only got 3 more to find. So once you're happy that the achievement's popped for that, we're then just going to proceed back out the way we came, jumping back into the water. As you can see, Mui's still up there. He's got nowhere to drop down safely. So we're going to have to get him through to the other side. So if we swim across to this body of rock here, clamber up, and then what we want to do is grab that rope. And then we're going to get a little bit of momentum swinging to the left and right. And then we're going to release and jump to the left. Once we're on the top here, we're just going to pull off the boards and then we can call Mui through by holding B. Before we can proceed, we're going to have to use mind control or remote control with Mui. Get him close enough so we can press Y and then right trigger and hold left on the left thumbstick, and that should snap the vines and we can go through to the next room. Once up here, we have another water puzzle. So of course, we're going to have to do all the work. Mui's not going to do anything for us here. So once you get to the edge here, Mui's not going to go any further. We're going to dive straight into the water and proceed to the right hand side. Clamber up, run across the top of this rock, and then we're just going to do a hop, a skip and a jump over to this right hand side. Once we finally get to the right, what we're going to do is climb up, jump on this rope, and then we're going to swing to the left. And then we're going to backtrack the way we came, but from on the top level here. So jump between these rocks, making sure that you don't fall. And then we're going to have to do a bit of a Tarzan here and swing across these 2 ropes. So get a little bit of momentum and then jump to the other one. And then you can probably shimmy up this one a little bit and then jump across. On the next rope, all we're going to do is drop from it. And that's going to in turn break the floor below. And that'll allow us to get through to that weird vine that's sticking through. So just get to the bottom, tap B, and you should fall through. We can now call Mui down. And we can get him to interact with this vine. So get him to stand next to it, press Y. And then we can raise and lower this water level. So hold right trigger and press down on the left stick. This is going to lower the water level. And once it's lowered, we're going to move to the right. At the very end here, we'll find a wooden log. So as you tread through the water, there is a little cavern which was hidden away here, which has got a log in it. So now that we're beside the log, we can raise the water level a little bit. Don't raise it too high, otherwise you will drown and die in here, so just be gentle on the thumbstick. Once it's high enough to get through, just hold X on the log. And we're going to pull this through into the big open section here. Again, we're going to need to drop the water level, like so. And then we can pull this log to the left a little bit further. The key here is to get the water level to the very top and the log to the very left, so Mui can jump on it. So once we get to about here, we can then raise the water level. So right trigger and hold up on the left thumbstick. This is going to take the water level right to the top, and then we can use this as a little bit of a boat to get Mui across. So at this point we can call Mui, and he's going to jump on the log, and from here we're going to take him across to the other side and then get out of here. Now that we've got Mui to the other side, we can climb up and open this vine door that was blocking the way. Let's walk up to it, hold Y, and you've done this 100 times already. Snap the vines and then proceed through. We now have a couple of minutes of walking to the right. There shouldn't be any dangers, and then I'll pick it up when we get closer to the end of chapter 6. Once you get to about this point, you should get an achievement pop called A Trace of the Past. This is for finding a spaceship, or a derelict, destroyed spaceship I should say, in the middle of the swamp. So we're going to shimmy up the rope and jump across a couple of these platforms. Just make sure that you don't fall off, because it is quite a height and you will probably die. And then we can safely move into the ship and start chapter 7. So we're now transitioning into chapter 7, which is called The Past. This chapter is a little bit tricky, I won't lie. I did die 3, potentially 4 times here, trying to get through this one. So as we move down into the ship, we'll get our first little cutscene here by tapping X on this console. This is going to activate the ship and show it a little bit of a blueprint on the back wall. Once that cutscene's played out, we're going to proceed to the right. There'll be a little bit of jumping required here. Just make sure that you don't do any long drops, as they will potentially kill you. So jump onto this rope, and then we want to swing to the right. Don't drop down. And then we can drop down safely here. And then there is a little bit of a ramp to slide down. Just make sure that you jump on the end of that so you don't fall down the hole. And then jump to the rope and drop down safely. Here we have our first little bit of electricity. If you do drop on that, or Mui drops on that, we will die instantly. So make sure you call Mui down, and then we want to send him underneath this platform by holding right trigger. Aim at the button and press A. Once underneath, just press Y and Mui's going to switch off the power, and then you can call Mui back to your side again, and you can proceed through safely. We now have a little bit of walking to the right hand side, and I will shout up when we get to something of importance. Okay, we're going to slide down this ramp. Nothing too dangerous at the bottom of the ramp. It's when we go on a little bit further. There is a spider below us here, as well as a strip of electricity. So if you send Mui to this button and get him to press Y, what that's going to do is turn the power on. So that gives you a rough idea where it is and where you want to get to before you switch the power back on. So turn the power off, and as the spider moves to the far left as it'll go, we're then going to jump down and sprint to the right as quick as we can. Remember where the electricity was, and then press Y with Mui. That's going to fry the spider and hopefully not yourself. I did fry myself a couple of times here, so just be wary that the electric strip kind of finishes where that bush is. You can then call Mui to you, and then we're going to get Mui to knock down this rope that's above us, and then we can proceed on. So yes, just be a little bit cautious of where that electricity strip ends before pressing Y to get Mui to turn it on. Again, we have a little bit of walking to the right hand side and a couple of story points of interest, but I'll shout up when we get to something important. We're now going to safely drop down here. It looks like I haven't called Mui back for a while. He's probably stood in the same room that the spider was in. Never mind. We're going to extend the bridge by pressing X on that. And then we're going to get Mui to stand next to the console. We're going to run over to the opposite side of the bridge. I'm going to cut the video so Mui appears like that. And then press Y for Mui to activate the button. We can then drop down. And then what we want to do is hang here because it is quite a drop, and then do a safe landing like so. Now we can call Mui because he can quite easily make the drop, and then we're going to crawl underneath here. Here we need to activate a turbine by turning on the power. This is going to electrify the water, so just make sure you're not stood in the water when we turn on the button. What we're going to do is firstly climb up to the button, and then we're going to put Mui right next to it. He's going to be primed and ready to turn it on. Drop down, and then we want to grab these handles and push it into the water. This is going to generate a current from one side to the other. So we're going to swim across and grab the other handle on the opposite side and push that into the water. That's going to make a clean connection between the two. Now come out the water to the right hand side and stand by the button. Press Y on Mui, that's going to turn the power on, and then we can press X by us to extend the bridge. Press Y on Mui again to turn off the power, and then we can safely cross the water while the power is off. Again, don't go into the water while it's switched on, that's just silly. Once we get out the other side, we're just going to climb up and go across the bridge. Once we get alongside Mui, you can also hold B to get him to follow us across the bridge as well. Here we just want to get Mui to drop down the rope, so aim up, press A, and then once he's up there just press Y. I'll kick the rope down. And then both of us are going to climb up and proceed into the next room. The next room is kind of story related, so I won't mention anything just yet, and I'll pick it up once we've interacted with a console in there. Once beside this console, just press X to activate a cutscene. A number of robots are going to wake up and salute us. We'll also be given a bracelet. This bracelet is going to allow us to control robots, magnets, lift, etc. by interacting with consoles throughout the ship, and we'll also get the achievement called In Control. Proceed out of this room, and then we've got a couple of drop downs that you just need to be wary of, and then we're going to move into a large open room, which again I died in here previously. What you want to do is just do a safe drop down here, and then again another safe drop here, and then jump onto the lift. Mui should follow you, and this lift will slowly lower down to the ground level. This puzzle's got quite a number of tricky jumps and potential falls to your death. If you do miss a jump and look like you're going to fall to your death again, just quickly press start and restart checkpoint, and that should save you. Once we're down, we're going to jump to the left here and hold X to activate this console. This is going to allow us to move this lift around. First of all, we're going to move the lift to the right hand side, just as this kind of ledge finishes, and then move it all the way to the top. What we're going to do here is release it now, so hold X. That lift is slowly going to come down. We should have plenty of time to get there before it actually gets to our level. And then what we want to do is get to that handle or console directly below us. So what we're going to do is clamber onto this lift and then kind of backtrack and jump underneath us. So just wait till the lift is at a suitable height. Don't risk a fall. Pull yourself up and you should have plenty of time to get yourself in a position to sprint jump. And then once you're lined up about level, sprint jump and we should get underneath. We need to interact with this handle or lever twice. So move it to the left to turn power off. And then we need it back on by turning it to the right. And then we can pull these boards off and we have a little shortcut back in here. We're now going to need Mui's help to cut a wire or a cable. It's currently electrified. But first of all, we're going to get Mui into position. So run to this ledge and tell Mui to stand in the middle of this lift. He'll then jump down and sit there ready for us to move him around with this console. So go back to the left, jump across, make sure that you don't fall down. Hold X to activate the lift, and we're going to lift Mui up and towards this electric cable. So move him to the top right. Don't worry if you touch the cable, this isn't going to affect Mui at all. It'll only kill him if you do press Y to bite it. We're going to pull him up as high as possible and then press X to release the console. And then we need to quickly run over, duck under here and turn the power off. Once the power's off, it's just a case of pressing Y once Mui's lined up with the cable to cut it. And that's going to drop a bit of the bridge down. We're now safe to turn the power back on because we're going to need to use the lift again. Jump across and interact with this console by holding X to activate the lift. And we're going to need to use this to jump across. So stick it roughly where I'm placing it here. So about there. So it's not quite in the middle, it's just a little bit to the left. And then take it as high as you can, hold X to release, and then we need to run over there and get ready to jump across. I've moved it a little bit to the left because the bridge on the right hand side is a little bit lower. Again, if you do miss this jump for whatever reason, do press start and restart checkpoint before you hit the deck and die. Jump over, pull yourself up, and then quick as possible jump over. Remember to call Mui so he doesn't get left behind. He can jump up anyway. And then you're through. So that's one of the more difficult puzzles out the way. We're then going to slide down this ramp and we're going to transition into chapter 8, which is called the Ocean. This is a really short chapter. You should be through it within a couple of minutes. However, there is potential to die still. So as we come out of this rocky entrance, cavern entrance here, we will encounter our first robot, one of the flying drones. So just be a little bit cautious that you don't run into his line of sight. What we're going to do is get into these bushes, crouch down. Once he comes to the left, we're then going to move to the right and sprint over this way. There is a console below us, so if you hold X and pull right like you do with the boards, you pull the front off and then we can interact with it by holding X. This will actually give us control over the robot. So it will drop out the sky initially, but if you hold right trigger, this will give it a little bit of propulsion and keep it in the air. So right trigger to boost it off the ground and then left stick to move it left and right. Sit it on top of this plant, which of course is going to extend the bridge, and then you and Mui can jump up. Don't worry, because we've used the console, the robot won't reactivate. It's now dead in the water and we can safely move past it. Just move to the right for a little bit and then we'll find a boat on the river. Just jump on the sailboat and that's it. That is chapter 8 complete. Easy as that. And then this will move us into chapter 9 called The Turning Tide. Now that we've moved on to chapter 9, to proceed with the story, we'll need to go to the right. However, there is a secret shrine to our left. So if you swim back out to the sea, the way your boat landed, if you go this way for a few seconds, you'll eventually come to a body of land, which we can step out of. And on that little bit of land, there is secret shrine number 8. Again, just press X to activate it and you'll get the 8th map piece. Once you're ready and the achievements popped, just swim back out to the sea, back to the boat, and we'll pick up commentary again from there. Now that we're back at the boat, we're going to proceed onwards to the right hand side. Just make sure that Mui's following you by holding B. You're going to go through a large rib cage and then eventually meet a boar, which I'm going to pick up the commentary from there. So once we jump over this last little stretch of water, we'll find a boar on the opposite side. We'll be perfectly safe, so we're fine on this side. What we're going to do is send Mui through. So hold right trigger and then press A. And then the boar is going to rush him, but hold Y, and this is going to do the mind control trick. Just hold right trigger and move the left stick to the right to reverse the ball. It'll eventually stand on one of those plants, which is going to extend the bridge above us. Rock backwards a little bit, jump up and climb over. Make sure that Mui keeps him mind controlled, and we're going to head past the ball and up and over behind him. Break the mind control either by holding Y or holding B. Make sure that you do call Mui to you before the ball actually snaps out of it and kills him. And then call Mui up to the top and press Y to drop the rope, and then we'll press on. Once we're up the top, we'll have a damaged bridge that we need to sprint jump over, so just make sure that you don't miss. Pull yourself up, and then we're going to have a couple of segments next with a couple of those drone flying robots. Make sure that you send Mui up here and get him to knock down the rope. Climb up, and then just be a little bit wary because we're going to start encountering a couple of drones here. So as you get to the edge here, make sure that Mui is following you. Make sure that you are crouched in the grass. If you aren't, the drone will obviously spot and shoot you. Drop down, and then we're going to backtrack instantly and go underneath this ledge. As soon as the drone goes overhead, we're going to make a break for it to the right. And jump this ledge, and then we should be safe from that drone. And then straight after that, we're going to encounter another drone. So once you pass that big rock, hold left trigger to go into the grass. The drone's then going to aggro these cables or vines that are coming out this black goo. Those are hostile to you, and the drones will kill them when they're overhead. As soon as the drone's passed, make a break for it and follow it, and then get in the grass here and just crouch down. The drone's going to do a quick scan down in that little bit of valley there, and then he's going to backtrack the way he came. As he passes overhead, we're going to drop down and proceed through before he comes back. This next puzzle segment has a large pit of that black goo in the middle. You'll see that there's two kind of antennas sticking out of it. That means it's alive and healthy. If we did move into the center of that black goo, we would be killed. So whatever you do, don't go in the center of it. You can touch the outer edges, no problem. But if you do stand in it for too long or go into the middle, you will die. While on this rope, what we're going to do is pick up a little bit of momentum, and what we're going to do is swing over the top of the middle of it. As long as you clear the middle section, you should be safe to proceed through. Crouch underneath this rock and then interact with this console. Again, you might need to pull the front off by holding X and then left on the left stick. This is then going to take control of that drone that we passed previously in the last little area. So once we have control of that drone, just hold right trigger to fly up. We're going to bring him inside, and we're going to get this guy to kill all this black goo stuff. So just hover over it, make sure he kills it, and those tentacles disappear. There is 4 that you need to kill. So that was 1, that's number 2, number 3 there, and then finally on the end here, number 4. Once all those are being cleared, we're then going to take the drone to the very top. You'll see a secret shrine there, number 9, and then we're going to land the drone on this little plant. That's then going to extend a little bridge to the left of us and allow us to climb up to shrine number 9. So now the drone's secure on there, just hold X to back out. We're then going to backtrack to that rope. We can now cross the black goo without the fear of dying, because the creature inside of it is dead from the drone. Grab hold of the rope, we're going to shimmy up a little bit, and then we're going to swing to where Mui is currently. And then we're going to jump up, and then that bridge that's been extended by the drone, we're going to jump and grab that, pull ourselves up, and then head over to shrine number 9. Again, just press X to interact with it, and we'll only have 1 more left to go after this. Once the achievement has popped, we're then going to make our way back down the way we came up. So just make sure that you get down safely. You don't want any adventurous jumps around here. Call Mui, And then we're both going to traverse to the right hand side, going through this black goo or tar that we destroyed. So that was the first one. We're going to clamber up, and then there's another 3 here, slightly smaller pools which we destroyed with the drone. And then once we get to the very end of the screen, we should be able to proceed through to the next area where Mui's having a little bit of trouble with water again. So we'll pick it up when we're a little bit closer to that puzzle. So this is the body of water that Mui's not going to be able to cross. So we're going to clamber up this rock. We're going to swing across this rope to the upper level. The lower section is currently boarded off and we can't get through, so we've got to go over the top. If you see underneath, there is a log which we're going to get to. You can safely jump off the top here into the water. The water is deep enough to take a plunge. And then we're going to backtrack under this section of rock where we saw the log. Firstly, we want to grab the log and pull it away from Mui. This is going to drop the board to the left, and then we can drag it to the left where Mui is. Drag it as far as you can, and then once you're underneath him, you can press B to call him, and he's just going to jump down. We're now going to drag this to the right through where we originally found it. So under this rock archway kind of thing here, and then straight out the other end, because we have another body of water which he won't be able to cross. So now that he has his little flotation log, we can pull him to the opposite side where there's kind of a pier waiting for us, and then we're going to clamber out and move on. Just get Mui to drop down the rope for you. We've got to get him to do some sort of work. And then again, just press Y once he's up there to drop down the rope, and then you can shimmy out. This next segment's a little bit tricky. There's a lot going on, so feel free to pause your game and watch the video for a minute or two just to get an idea of what's going on. So we're going to drop into this little village area. There's people getting taken away by robots. We're then going to run into a drone, which I'm getting ready for already. He doesn't actually come this far out, so he's going to patrol back and we're going to follow him. Once we get to the grass, we're going to jump in the grass and let the drone go overhead. Make sure that Mui is with you, as we're going to need him in the next segment here. So we're safe from the drone, however there is a boar to our right hand side. Jump in this grass. We want to send Mui out a little bit closer to the boar, and then as soon as he's in range, hold Y before he gets charged down to mind control the boar. Now this bit's a little bit tricky. What we want to do is pull the boar towards us, and what we're going to do is sit the boar on that piece of grass that's sticking up. That's going to activate the bridge. So the intention here is to get the drone to kill the boar so the dead body lays on those and keeps the bridge extended. However, Mui is on this side of the boar, which is closest to the drone. So what we need to do is get Mui into the grass and the boar on the plant without Mui getting shot. So as soon as it starts patrolling to the left, get Mui going quick as you can into the grass, making sure that the boar is stood on the bridge extender. The drone shouldn't see Mui but then kill the boar, and Mui should stay still. Wait until the drone's passed back to the left on its patrol route and call Mui back, just so he doesn't get shot. And then we're going to need to utilize Mui to stand on one of these plants. So just aim at this one in the middle, tell him to stand on that, and he'll quite happily sit there. We're then going to climb up these 2 bridges, one extended by the boar and the second one extended by Mui underneath there. And then once we finally get to the top, we should be able to interact with this console and decommission that drone and utilize it to extend another bridge. So let's get to the top, pull the front of this console off and then hold X to interact with it. And then finally we get control of this drone. Again, just hold right trigger to fly up, and we're going to land this guy on the very top. Once he's sat on the plant, that's going to extend the bridge next to us. Just hold X to back out, and we're going to need Mui again. So hold B to call Mui up, as we don't need his bridge anymore. And then what we want to do is tell Mui to stand on the plant, not the drone. So there is an option to stand on the drone, but make sure he's got the plant selected. Tap A to make sure he sits on it, and then we're going to grab the drone again. This time we're going to move the drone to the right hand side, as there is another plant sat on the beach, sand down here. Plonk that on top. Once you're happy with it sat on there, we're just going to back out the console. We're then going to climb on this bridge onto the top, go past Mui. We can now call Mui back to us, drop on this bridge, and then we're going to do a sprint jump to the other side. Once you're safely across, we're then going to mind control these vines with Mui, and then snap them and head on through. We have a couple of jumps which could potentially kill us, so just make sure you don't mess any of those up. Clamber up, and then we're going to move into another section with water, which we can raise and lower. And then there is 2 robot drones in there as well to avoid. So this one is again a little bit tricky, because this involves getting you through and then getting a log and then get Mui through without the drone spotting you. So again, if you wanted to, you could pause your game and watch how I do it and then follow it afterwards. Or you can try and do it side by side and see what happens. So first of all, get Mui near this kind of snake vine thing. Hold Y so we're in control of the water. Hold right trigger and then lower that water as low as it will go. This will then make the drones drop a little bit lower into the water. And then what we're going to do is swim across and underneath these rocks. So using these rocks above us as cover. Just wait for the patrols to pass, just so you've got enough time to get across. So I'm going to wait for this drone to come back to me. It's going to do a little scan in the water. Just make sure you don't get spotted in the line of sight. And then as he moves back across, we're then going to follow him. And then we're going to hang fire under this next piece of rock. Again, once he lifts up and goes over the top, we're then going to proceed to the right. All the way to the right. And then we need to climb onto this piece of rock that we're currently underneath. To do that, we're going to need to raise the water level. So hold right trigger and push left stick up. It's going to raise the water level and allow us to clamber out. However, it's changed the drone patrols, which doesn't help us at all. So what we're going to do is right trigger and lower the water, just to give us a little bit more time on those patrols. And then what we're going to do is follow this drone. As it lifts up and moves left, we're going to then follow it, jump into the grass and crouch. Ensure you stay crouched so you don't get seen. Then this drone's going to go over us, and then we're going to move left, jump across and into the grass. Crouch down, and you'll notice that there is a log next to us. We need to try and get this into the water. So what we're going to do is push the log to the left. So once he's done this patrol, we're then going to step out, grab the log and push it to the left as quick as we can. Drag, 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 drag. It'll fall into the water, and then we can go back to the bush. Crouch before he comes back. And then as this drone on our right hand side moves, we can then drop into the water and gather the log. I'm just being a little bit extra cautious that the one on the left didn't spot me. Drop into the water, and then we're going to retrieve this log now. So wait for this patrol to move again. Once it's up the top, we can swim out, X to grab the log, and we're going to push it to the left hand side. At this point we can call Mui, so just hold X, and then we're going to swim to the right, and we're going to take Mui all the way to the right hand side, avoiding the patrols. So I could have waited a little bit longer on this one, but thankfully the timing was right. And we're going to move all the way to the end, and we've safely got to the other side with Mui. So that one is a little bit long-winded. and there is quite a few opportunities to get caught there, so it can be a little bit tricky, but not too difficult overall. So get to these wires again, mind control them, stretch them out and break on through. We now have a couple of minutes of just purely walking right. There's no dangers, so just plod on through and I'll pick it up when we get to something of interest. Again, we've got to another rope that needs knocking down. Send Mooey up, knock it down, and then proceed up. At this next section, we need to break the floor. So just need to clamber up one rock here and then jump on it, and that'll smash us through to the floor below. So as we clamber over this next rock, we'll come to a section of another puzzle. This one has one of those drone robots that we're going to need to utilize and obviously avoid getting shot by. So as we come into this area, we're perfectly safe under this rock. And then what we're going to do is wait for this patrol to go up and over. We're then going to climb out and up, and then we want to go to the top right here before he comes back. So just clamber up. And then once you get into the far top right, you're perfectly safe here. He's not going to spot you. So once the drone patrol's back to the left hand side, we're going to follow him. So we're going to firstly jump onto the rope and then quickly swing across. And then we want to get in this long grass before he comes back across. Make sure that Mooey's with you as well. Once he's gone over top, we are going to jump across and interact with this console. Got to be quick here, because he does come back relatively quickly. So hold X, hack it, and then if you're quick enough, you shouldn't be spotted, and you can then take control of the drone. We're now going to drop it beside us, just trying to land him as close as possible without dropping him off the ledge. And then we're going to direct Mooey to jump on the top, and Mooey's going to go for a little ride. So hold right trigger, and we're going to take him to the right hand side of the screen. We're going to fly him up and over the top of this rock, and you will find a cable to bite. So hover him nearby, press Y, and he's going to cut the cable for us. And that is us done with the drone. So land Mooey safely to the floor, and then hold X to release the console. And we're going to just run back to the right hand side. And that rope that Mooey is now bitten is hanging perfectly for us to climb up. So we're just going to clamber through this little rock tunnel here. Grab the rope and head on out. Interact with these vines again, so just get Mooey close enough, mind control them, stretch them out till they break, and then we'll head on through. So this next puzzle segment is kind of classed as a boss encounter, I would guess. This is our first quick time event. So if you've been into the accessibility settings and turned this off, this is going to be a walk in the park. If you haven't and you've left it on, you will need to complete a quick time event. I've currently got it switched off, so I'm just going to see a long cutscene. I'm not going to have to do any events. So first of all, climb up to the top of this rock once you get to it and make sure that Mui is sat on the very edge. We want him sat there because what he's going to do is mind control this big beastie that we're going to pull out. So we're going to be the bait. We're going to drop down to the floor level and we're going to swim across. Just be careful here that you don't go too far because we are going to need to run back on ourselves to avoid him. So I'm just being relatively cautious here. As soon as his eyes open, I'm going to be sprinting the hell out of there. So I'm shuffling forward slowly. His eyes are open and I'm out of there. So sprint back to the left. Once you get under Mui, you should be relatively safe from the beast. And then this would trigger a quick time event where you would be spamming X, spamming Y. However, if you did mess up any of the button presses, it would kill Mui and it would class as a death right at the end of the chapter. But as I said, I've got quick time events turned off, so this is just a one long beautiful cutscene where we don't have to do anything and we don't have that added pressure of a potential death. So once this is played out, we're then going to climb back up to the top and clamber over the beast to get out the other side. So now the cutscene has finished. I'm still in the water here, so I'm going to climb out and we're going to go over the top. Mui's going to keep his gaze until we tell him to break it, so don't press anything just yet. We're going to jump over Mui onto the monster's head and then clamber onto the rock. You can then hold B to call for Mui and he's going to come across and join you. The monster or spider, whatever the hell it is then going to retreat back into its cave and we have passed this section. We'll now have a lovely long run to the right hand side, which will take a couple of minutes. This will eventually transition into chapter 10, the desert. At this point I'm going to cut the commentary until we get to something of interest, but don't worry, there's no dangers along the way, just enjoy the beautiful scenery. So we've made it to chapter 10, the desert. There is one shrine left to collect on this chapter. This was also the hardest chapter for me to complete. There is a particular puzzle which involves riding Mui on a drone amongst some fans, which managed to kill him multiple times. But I'll go through that section nice and slowly with you, give it as much description as I can, and I will hopefully get you through that section without any deaths. So we're going to press on to the right hand side for a little bit, and then we'll eventually hit another spider drone shortly. At this robot, what we want to do is just stand underneath this ledge. He's then going to patrol over the top to the right hand side, and he's going to be looking out over the desert to our left. You are safe to teeter out a little bit so you can face the ledge, because what we're going to do is jump up as soon as he turns around. So as he turns around, we're going to jump up twice, first up this ledge and then the second ledge before he turns around. And then I found it's best to crouch somewhere in the middle so he doesn't get line of sight of you. And then as soon as he turns around, we're going to leg it to the right hand side and then through the gap at the back. There's about a minute of walking, and I'll catch up when we get to something of interest. We now have another lift puzzle. This one's nice and easy. There shouldn't be any danger if you dying unless you fall off the lift itself. So what we're going to do is head on inside. We're going to duck underneath here and head in. There is a slug to our left here, which has got its eyes closed because of the lights on the lift. So what we're going to do is tell Mui to stand beside the slug, so near his head somewhere. And then what we're going to do is jump on the lift, and this is going to pull it down so the lights will move away from its eyes, and we can mind control it with Mui. So we're going to push the slug back. This is going to turn off the power, which in turn is going to drop the lift outside. So we're now free to jump off this one, move across, and then clamber onto this lift up here. Once we've jumped onto the lift, what we need to do is put the power back on. So we're going to get Mui to move the slug to the right so the solar panels are active again, and then just hold B to call Mui, and he's going to jump up and join us on the lift. Once he's on it, we're just going to press Y to activate the button, and this is going to take us to the top. Nice and easy. We have yet another puzzle that involves a lift. So for this one, we are going to call Mui to the top. So he's going to jump up towards the button. Just press Y to make the lift active. It's going to move up and drop the rope. You can then press Y again, and that rope's going to come back down. What we're going to do is just grab the rope, if I can get hold of it, and then Mui's going to activate the lift for us, taking us up, and then we're going to swing towards Mui and drop down. We're then going to press Y on the lift again. This is going to bring it back down, and then we're safe to jump onto the lift, and Mui can send us back up. Us being at the very top of the lift here isn't going to activate the drone. It won't be in its line of sight, so we are safe to stand up here. And then what we need to do here is once the drone moves to the right hand side, we need to follow it and then press the button that's on the top there. So wait for it to move across, then follow it, press X on the button, and then run back to your lift that you were stood on. And then we're going to rinse and repeat this again. So when it moves to the right, we're going to follow it. We're going to press the button quickly and then jump on the other lift to follow it down. And at this point, we can then hold B to call Mui to us, and he's going to meet us at this little ledge here and follow us down. Again, if you get caught by the drone, press start quickly before it kills you, and you can restart the checkpoint. We've got another puzzle that involves a drone. So as we get into this zone here, what we're going to do is get myself and Mui up to the button here. So jump up, and what we need to do is tell Mui to stand next to the button, because he's the one that's going to be in charge. Tap Y to activate the button. That's going to open up a hole in the ground there. And then what we're going to do is follow this drone across. So go with its patrol. And then as you drop in the hole, press Y. That's going to put a cover over the top of us and keep us safe from sight. As the drone goes back, press Y, and then we're going to clamber out, run to the right, and then get to this console before we get spotted by the drone. Pull the front of the console off, and then again hold X to control what is the magnet above, not the drone this time. So once we have control of the magnet, we can hold right trigger to activate the magnet and pull the drone into us. And then what we're going to do is shove the drone down here and then press Y to close it in. The drone will wake up, but it is trapped down there, so we're safe and sound. And we're now going to position the magnet over here on the left hand side, just like that, because we're going to use it to climb up and find our very last secret shrine. So climb up here, then jump onto the magnet itself, and then we should be able to jump to the top left where we will find our very last secret shrine. So head on through. Once the camera pans over, you should see it, and then just press X. You should get 2 achievements for this one if you've been following along with the guide. So one for finding shrine number 10, and then of course the 11th achievement for finding them all. Once you're happy that those have popped, we're then going to head back down into the room where the magnet is, and we're going to get out of here. So safely drop down, make sure you're not doing any stupid drops from heights. And then we're going to go over to the console, and then we're going to simply replicate what we've done on the left hand side over here on the right. So we're going to move the magnet over to this side, and we're going to use it as a platform to jump up to the top level. So stick it somewhere about there, jump on top of the magnet, and then we're going to jump on the top platform, and then we're going to use Mui to cut the rope at the top. So right trigger, aim up, A, and then once he's up there, just press Y to drop the rope down. Shimmy up, and then we're safe to proceed on a little bit further. Once the camera pans over, there is a sheer drop. So this first one's fine, but this one with the 2 black pillars here, what we want to do is hang and then safely drop. If you do jump the way that Mui's gone, you will die, and if you just fall or run off, you will also die. So make sure that you do a hanging drop on that segment. So we're getting to a nice easy rope puzzle here. So this one's nice and simple. We're just going to send Mui up to bite the rope. It's not electrified or anything, so he's safe just to go straight for it. Once he's bitten through it with Y, we can then use that rope to clamber up to the next section. Okay, this is by far the most trickiest puzzle and the one I died to the most, so be very careful of this one. Again, you might want to pause your game and watch this before trying it yourself. So mind these electric panels on the floor, you will need to jump over them or you will die. Also leave Mui here at the very start of the puzzle. If you do take him with you through the fans, he will get blown away and killed. So leave him there, and we're going to head on through. Just be aware that you can't jump over these electric panels while you're being blown by the turbines. So wait for the dust to settle before jumping over those. They have the same timings every time, so you'll eventually get used to it. Before going through this, we're going to let it play out one more time. And then as it stops, we're going to head on through. Here we have another electricity panel on the floor. This one's safe to jump over. And if we stand here, we can avoid the detection of the drone, so it won't see us here. Standing's fine. Once that transitions to the left, we're going to turn off the power quickly and then jump back down before the drone gets us. and then all the electric panels on the floor have been deactivated, as well as one at the very front, which is where Mui was, and this will allow us to control the drone. So we're just going to go back through these turbines. Make sure that you don't walk into them while they're switched on, but you can avoid the electric panels now. Those are no longer switched on, so we can just walk straight over those. Back through the turbines, and we're back to Mui. So this doorway was powered on, we couldn't get through previously. We can now tear this panel to bits and use this. So hold X, and that's going to take control of that drone on the right hand side. We need to fly this drone through to the front. So I found the best method was just to fly up and then go through this one at the top. Once it's switched off, and then drop down, go through here, and then what we're going to do is drop the drone on that to smash the door open, and then luckily that turbine turned off as I came through. So drop the drone to the deck, disconnect and put Mui on the top of it. This is where it gets really difficult, and this is where you are most likely to balls up. So we're going to take control of the drone. Don't get too close to the turbine. If you do go in the dust or the breeze, Mui will get blown off and he's instantly killed. So I'm trying to time it right here so I've got enough time to zip through once it turns off. So fly through as quick as possible, and then we need to go up before they activate. If we were still down there while it activated, Mui would die, and we'd have to restart the whole chapter again to get the perfection run. So same again here, we're just waiting for the turbine to turn off, and then we're going to zip through quick as possible before it comes back on. If you are on either side of the turbine, Mui will be killed when it's switched on. Now that we're through, I've used Mui to activate the button, which has turned off the power, and then I've used him to bite the rope, and we are done. The turbines are off, the electric panels are off, and we're safe to proceed. If you've managed to do that first time without any deaths, you are a legend. Well done. Took me 2 to 3 attempts to get through that without Mui dying, so I was so relieved to finally get to this point. So now that Mui's landed safely on this side, we can call him to us, and we're going to climb up this rope, which is kindly bitten through for us, and we're going to swing over to this right hand side to get out of this damn place. Sadly though, that is not the end of chapter 10. We still have one last tricky bit to do, which involves a spider robot and using Mui as bait. So this is another one that's a little bit tricky. Again, I suggest pausing your game, watching me play through it first, and then try it for yourselves. If you try to play it side by side, it gets a little bit too confusing, I feel. So first of all, you want to park Mui on top of this hole. I accidentally sent him through, which is going to instantly trigger the robot. This was accidental. Just get him to sit on the top so he's ready to go through. And then what you do is crouch underneath this bit of metal, and then be ready to run out to the first set of grass. So the robot's going to patrol left and right slightly. As he moves to the right, we're going to run out and get into the grass. We're then going to trigger Mui once the robot turns around again, and Mui's going to come out to the hole beside us. Once the robot turns around, we're going to then press Y to send him back through the hole. This is going to give us a couple of seconds for us to make a break to the right hand side and get into the next section of grass. On the right hand side there is also a cubby hole which we can crouch into where the robot can't get us, and we're going to use this as a distraction for Mui. This is the real tricky bit. So what we're going to do here is call Mui over to us, and then as he's running towards us we need to press B to tell him to stop in the middle of the grass piles. If he's on the edge of the grass piles or hasn't quite made it before the robot turns around, he's going to get killed. So what I'm doing here is luring the robot to me. While he's attacking me, I'm then calling Mui over and then pressing B to stop Mui in the grass. So Mui's right beside me now. I'm going to wait for this robot to patrol to the left, call Mui over, and then we can both shimmy out of this cubbyhole together. Again, as I've mentioned many a time, if you do get spotted, you have a couple of seconds just to press start and restart checkpoint before one of you get killed. So again, another spider robot. This one's jumping up and then jumping down. As it jumps down, what you want to do is send Mui up, and then you climb underneath. As he jumps up and spots Mui, you want to call Mui down as quick as possible, and then you're both going to scurry across while he's attacking the hole in the floor. Again, if things look like they're going south, just press start and restart checkpoint before you actually die, and you should be sound to try again. Here, me and Mui are going to get separated, and eventually Mui is going to be captured by the robot we've just escaped from. And that's going to move us into Chapter 11, the Oasis. So we've now got a little bit of a segment running to the right, and then we're eventually going to collapse and go into another dreamlike state, and I'll pick the commentary up when we get to there. So we've now passed out in the desert, and we're going to enter the dreamlike state again, where we're going to transition to the left. This time we're chasing Mui rather than our sister. Again, we've done this a couple of times already, so nothing new here. Once we wake up from this dream, we'll then transition into Chapter 11, the Oasis. The Oasis chapter, again, is a nice, easy one, nice and small, so we should be through that within a couple of minutes, and then we've only got Chapter 12 and 13 left to go. So I'll let you work through this dream sequence, and then once we wake up, I'll pick up the commentary again and walk you through the Oasis. So it's obvious now that somebody has saved us, and we're no longer laid out in the desert. We're going to slowly walk to the right hand side, and we will find the chap that did save us. Here we'll have a little bit of a dialogue with him, quite a lengthy cutscene, and then we'll have to solve a quick puzzle before moving into Chapter 12.
Tailo. Lana.
Rakwen.
Gwen. Tatane.
Lana. Pama omena.
Muy. Hilo.
Tilai, Lana. Olai Rakwen.
So this section we need to produce a code or a signal that's going to speak to the robots or wake a robot up. So there's a number of scriptures and papers pinned to these billboards here. If you interact with the boards, it gives you a rough idea on what you need to type in for the code. So obviously the code's written out in full there, but we only have the details for the C. So it's 2 lines and a dot, but there is 2 C's there, so that's 2 parts of the code. On this board, you can see the mountain shapes are dot/dot, and we have 2 of those. And then in the bottom left, there's like a Q on its side, and we have the code for that as well. So we need to input those 5 codes or sequences into these buttons here. However, there currently isn't any power on. The old prophet guy here is going to move over to the right hand side and turn the power on for us. That's why I've been idling a little bit, reading those instructions on the wall. Otherwise, I would have just typed it in for you. So he's just going to potter around, waiting for him to reach the generator on the right hand side. He's then going to give it a tap with his stick, and it's going to activate these consoles on the left where we're going to input the code. So once it's powered up, I'll then come back to the commentary and let you know what you need to type in. So first of all, let's head over to console number 2, which is usually the letter C, and that was --dot. So just cycle through until you get to the --dot. And the console next to it, number 3, was also a C, so it should be the same code, which was --dot. We're then going to head over to console number 1, which was one of the mountains, and the code for that was line dot. So line dot on that one, and then we had another mountain here on console number 4. So again, change that one to line dot. And then once that's set, just head over to the last console, number 5, and we're going to set that to line. Head over to the console on the right hand side where the guy turned it on, hold X, and that should play out the code. This is in turn going to wake up the robot beside us, which we're going to ride off into the desert. Once we start riding this robot, this is going to trigger a cutscene and a QuickTime event. So if you still have the QuickTime events turned on in the accessibility menu, you will need to spam and mash a few buttons to make sure that you don't die. If, like me, you have it turned off, you'll just have one long cutscene without any interactions. So I'm just going to let this cutscene play out and let you enjoy it, and I'll pick it up when we get to near the end of the cutscene, where we're going to need to make a quick run to the right hand side of the screen before we die. So we're now coming up to the end of the cutscene. We're going to fall off the robot and it's going to burst into flames. Here we're going to have control of our character and we're going to quickly have to run to the right before the robots grab us. So quickly run right and duck into this gap, and that should transition us into chapter 12, which of course is the longest chapter in the game. So do your best to stay alive. The puzzles themselves aren't too difficult. This is more a battle of endurance, just making sure that you don't do any little mistakes and die. Because it is quite a long chapter number 12 to complete again if you do need to restart again. We now move on to chapter 12, which is called End of the Road. This is going to start us off with a quick puzzle which involves a patrolling drone robot, the ones that fly around. So as we come up to this verge here, we should see kind of an industrial section and we should spot the drone hovering ahead. So we're just going to wait till it moves out the way and then we're going to make a dash to the middle, which we can take a little bit of cover. So follow it along. Hide underneath here and then we're going to wait for it to go back over itself, over the top of us, and then we're going to shoot off to the right, climb up onto the middle platform and then jump across before he comes back. Jump over and then crouch underneath here, and then this puzzle involves a magnet. First of all we need to get it powered up and using it. So we're going to go in here, grab the box, and we're going to move this box to the right hand side a little bit, and then we're going to interact with this console. So firstly, pull off the front of the console and then hold X to control the magnet, and then we're going to bring the magnet from the left hand side here over the top and we're going to pick up this box. So move the magnet to the right hand side, just hold right trigger to activate it, and then we're going to move the box to the opposite side. And we're going to use the box as a stepping stone to get a little bit of height and climb up to this middle platform. We're now also going to need the magnet, so we're going to hover this guy in between the two platforms here, roughly about there. Back out of the console by holding X, then we're going to go over to the left hand side, climb on the box, jump onto the middle platform in the middle, and then hopefully jump onto the magnet and across to the right hand side. Once you're over to the right hand side, this should complete this little puzzle section. Right, as we drop down in the next section, be ready to meet a drone because it comes in pretty quickly. So drop down, go into the grass. We may be better off just waiting for it to finish its patrol and head back before dropping down. I was maybe a little bit premature jumping in there, but I'm safe and sound in the grass. So we're going to follow it this time when it moves across. So stand up, run across and dive into the grass. As it goes overhead, we're going to quickly jump up and move to the right before it comes back. Toodle over to the right, and then we're going to clamber up and we have another spider robot. It's going to play its little song and then it's going to jump up to the top left, and then when it patrols back it's going to drop down and then jump up to the top right. So once it drops down, we're going to follow it, and then as it jumps up to the top right, we're going to go underneath it. So if you do it quick enough, you shouldn't get spotted by him. Again, if you do get spotted, quickly press start and restart checkpoint before it kills you. Here, nice and simple, we're going to go all the way to the right and then climb up to the launch pad above us. As we get to this right hand side, a second dropship should land, collecting some supplies. We're going to just jump up to the landing pad and then we're going to clamber inside, and we're going to use this as our transport to get inside the big mothership or the sphere, which is directly above us. So just crouch here and just hang fire for a couple of minutes until it closes up and heads back up. Once it closes up, you should get the achievement pop for point of no return, and then once the cutscene's played out, I'll jump back into the commentary with you. Now that we've landed on the mothership, we can leave this transport pod and we can start looking for Mui. So we're going to drop down, and there's a couple of tricky stepping stones here. Make sure that you're doing a running jump. You will need to do a couple of these. And then once you're safe and sound on the floor, we will have an encounter with a spider robot. So crouch under here. Don't go too far forward, otherwise you may get caught by the robot. So we're going to sit under here and wait for him to patrol to the right hand side. When he does, we're then going to move underneath him. Wait for him to then patrol back to the left, and we're going to grab this box on the right hand side. So go and grab that box and move it to the left as quick as you can. And what we're going to use this box for is to jump up to the ledge above us. So you can safely climb up to the box and then wait for him to turn around, and then we're going to quickly jump up and activate the console next to him, or the lever. Press X and then pull it to the left, and then quickly exit that jump down before he turns around. You could potentially try and run and get through the gap, but I'm going to be playing it safe. I'm going to wait for him to patrol right and then back left again. As soon as he turns left, I'm now going to sprint for the hole that we've just opened up on the right hand side. Once we've crouched through and dropped down, we should see a conveyor belt below us, which seems to be processing all the animals they've caught, potentially into some sort of fuel that the robots are using. However, we're now about to see that Mui is coming along the conveyor belt with the animals. I won't spoil it for you, but I will let the rest of this scene play out and catch up with you afterwards. So it appears that the scanner has detected the artifact that's currently in Mui. So he's been rejected from the line, and thankfully he hasn't been crushed into some sort of green goo. So we're going to shuffle across to the right, and then we have a little bit of a puzzle room here which we need to get through. So we have both a drone and a spider robot. So first of all, we need to wait for the spider to backtrack to the right hand side. We can then safely climb up and then climb up to this next section. Wait here before stepping out. We're going to wait for this drone to go to the right hand side. He's going to go up high, and then as he comes down and sweeps left, we need to be quick here to step out, clamber up, and then jump to the right. So go now, climb up. We're going to go left a little bit so we can get a run, jump, pull yourself up, and then you can go underneath this alcove. Don't climb up to the next section. Make sure that you go in here where you're safe. We're now going to wait for him to patrol back to the left, and then we can step out of here and continue on to the right. As long as you do dip into that little cubby hole there, you should be fine and you won't be caught. Again, if you do get caught, before dying, press start and restart checkpoint to get that flawless. We've now caught up to Mui. The magnet's going to move him into some sort of processing unit. Once he's dropped in here, what this is going to do is spit out that empty cage that's currently inside it. So what we need to do is put that empty cage back in, and that's going to spit Mui out. So what we need to do is get control of the magnet, but we also need to get the box on the left hand side so the magnet can actually grab it. However, there is currently a sentry or a drone in the way, so this is going to make it a little bit difficult to get to the right hand side. So first of all, we're going to drop down and use this console that's directly below us. This console controls the magnet. So this is what we're going to use to deal with the robot initially. This isn't going to decommission it, this is just going to temporarily disable him. So you will need to be quick here, we can't idle around. So once you've got control of the magnet using the console, just move it around here, and then we're going to press right trigger to grab the robot. Like I said, this is just going to knock him out for a couple of seconds. We're going to lift him up and drop him in here. Make sure you have the magnet jammed on top of it, because it's going to buy us a little bit of time. Press X to leave the console and then run like hell to the right hand side. The robot's going to wake up, push the magnet out the way, but you should be able to get to the other side before he patrols over to you. Underneath here, there is another console. Rip the front off and use that by holding X, and this is going to give us control of the drone. This is going to make this area safe now, so we don't have to worry too much about getting caught. We're now going to fly this drone up to this side of the box and knock it off. Once the box is on the floor, we can then deactivate the drone, and then what we want to do is move the box to the opposite side of the room. So it wants to be on the left hand side so the magnet can get it. So we slowly shuffle this along, and then once it's in the gap on this left hand side where the magnet can get it, we're going to jump on the console, activate the magnet, and then lift the box up. So just run over here, hold X, bring the magnet back down, right trigger to activate the magnet, pick the box up, and then we're going to drop it where Mui was dropped. And then this in turn is going to push Mui out, and we're going to be able to free Mui from his cage. So you can hold X to leave the console now, and we're going to move to the right hand side, follow Mui out, and then we're going to do exactly the same thing as we did with the previous box. So we're going to activate the drone console, use the drone to knock the box off the top, and luckily Mui can survive these kind of drops and he will be released from his cage. We'll get a quick cutscene and we'll also get the achievement called Back Together. So we've now just rescued Mui, and we're going to put his life in danger straight away. We're going to put him on top of the drone, and then we need Mui to deactivate a couple of buttons to disable this electric field. So take control of the drone while Mui's on the top, fly him straight up, and you will find a button here. Get Mui to disable the button by pressing Y. This is then going to open a hole in the ceiling, and then we're just going to have to very carefully shimmy him around, making sure that you don't touch any of these electricity walls. There's 4 buttons to turn off up here, so that was the first one. Then we're gently going to move him to the right. Just gently tap the right trigger to give it a little bit of gas so he doesn't fall. Take as much time as you need, there's no rush, just very gentle movements. You don't want to die at this stage of the game. Press that button there. We're then going to lower him down gently so we don't touch any of the electric walls. Move him to this button on the right hand side, tap Y to turn that one off. Gently position him into the middle and slowly lower him down. And then we're going to go to the left, and there's one last button to deactivate. This one's a little tricky, but we've got through. Press Y and then you can land him and disconnect from the console. Good job if you've managed that first try. It is a little bit tricky. It's like one of those old school GTA missions where you fly in the helicopters. We can now call Mui, and then we're going to take him with us to the right hand side. We can then pull off this console and we're going to move through to the next section. We're slowly getting there, not long now. We've maybe got 10-15 minutes left to go. However, we're not out of the woods yet. So here we want to jump over to the other side, and then no, we're not going to try and crawl under there. What we need to do is drop down slowly. So hang and then drop, and then we want to do a kick jump to the other side. Do not drop or kick jump from there. What you want to do is pull yourself up and then do a running jump, otherwise you will fall and die. Do another running jump and you'll get to this section here. Mui should drop down for the roof and you'll move into a little segment here with a bit of walking involved. Again, I'll pick it up when we come to something of importance. As we're looking for our sister in this segment here, just be aware that there is a couple of jumps you need to do as there is holes in the floor. So just to keep your wits about you. So here's the first one here. Just make sure that you jump at this point, and then there's a second one straight after it. Make sure you jump at that one just so you don't fall down the holes and die. Just as this cutscene with your sister ends, we will move into quite an intense chase sequence with the robots. So be ready to run. We're going to move straight to the right hand side and jump. It does look like that you're going to fall to your death, but you don't. Just follow Mui and you should be fine. We're then going to slide down a ramp. As long as you stay close to Mui, he should show you the way to go. So we're going to slide down another ramp again, and then we're going to take a right, duck underneath here, jump across, and then drop down. We're going to slide down again and then take a left, go underneath, slide down this ramp to the right. And we're going to continually run right and get through the door at the very end before it closes. And then we should have a little bit of downtime before our next boss fight. We're shortly going to come out into a large room, which is going to be our final boss encounter. This has quick time events at the very end, but again, if you have it switched off in the accessibility options, it'll be a pure cutscene and nothing else. So we're going to move to the right hand side of the room to get this started. There is a button at the very top, the yellow one there that you can see. As soon as that one is activated by Mui, it's going to trigger a number of explosions from the boss. So we need to be relatively quick here to call Mui back and then quickly shuffle under this gap that's going to open up to get to some sort of safety. Once we're underneath here with Mui, put Mui next to the button because he's going to be in charge of the controls, and we're going to move left and right. So take note of the explosions that are coming out of the boss and the timings on those. So what we need to do here is, once the explosion's gone off, we're going to run to the left as quick as we can, jump on one of the lower platforms and press Y with Mui. This is going to put a shielding over the top of us. Again, once it's exploded, open the shielding with Mui by pressing Y, run across, jump down and activate the shielding again with Mui. Rinse and repeat this until you're to the other side. Once we've activated the button on this side, this is going to release a sphere, a white sphere in the middle. Activating this will trigger the quick time event if you do have it enabled. So we're going to head back, same rules apply, press Y to cover yourself up with the shielding, and then jump across to get to the sphere. As soon as you get to it, you don't need to press any buttons. Instantly the quick time event starts if you do have it enabled. If, like me, you don't, you just have a lovely long cutscene where you get to see them battle the boss. If you've made it this far, congratulations, there is no more puzzle or combat sections left. We've got a lovely long cutscene here that's going to last you about 10 minutes, and then we have a very short chapter 13. So I'm going to let this cutscene play out, let you absorb it, and then I'll catch up with you when we get to chapter 13. Thankfully, Mui is alive and well. All the villagers have been released from captivity, including our sister, and the robots have been restored to a peaceful mode. As we move into chapter 13, this is relatively short. It's going to only take you about 5 minutes to get through. We're going to spawn in the initial village that we started at. We're going to move to the left rather than the right for a change, and we're going to go and find Mui first of all, and then finally our sister. So we're just going to backtrack through the same village that we went through before. It's still under repairs from the robot invasion. Thankfully there's no puzzles or combat sections left to do, so this is a nice wind down at the very end of the game. If you have managed to get through this flawlessly, so either by restarting checkpoint before dying, or then restarting the whole chapter altogether and make sure you get a clean run. As you get to the very end here and speak to your sister, you will get 3 achievements pop. First of all, home at last for completing the game. Game completed without dying, which is flawless, and then finally the 100%, which is obviously the platinum trophy usually. You'll unlock that too. I'm now going to end my narration and commentary here, so if you have watched this video through fully, thank you for bearing with me. I hope you haven't fallen asleep. I appreciate the support. If you liked the video, as always, drop it a like. If you want to see more content from myself in the future, please do subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.